Cardinals may be handcuffed from the wide receiver position from now through the regular season, with reports from Ian Rappaport and Adam Schefter regarding wide receiver 1 DeAndre Hopkins. Crossover Thursday with Matt Dery of Locked On Lions. It's going to be a packed show. Let's get it.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Brack, follow me at Clancy's Corner. Follow the podcast at Locked On AZCardinals. Thank you to everybody subscribing on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play. I can't even name them all anymore. We're everywhere. Wherever you find your podcast, free and available on all platforms. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen. So there have been there have been multiple reports that DeAndre Hopkins suffered a knee injury, whether it be a sprain or otherwise. There is still a little bit up in the air regarding exactly what the severity is of his knee injury and how long he's going to be out. Whether it be the Cardinals being 10-3 and want to hold him out for the rest of the regular season so he's ready for the playoffs, or if he's going to be out for the entire year. Reports are saying the latter is most likely will not be the case, but we don't know at this point. Bo, initially, right away, say he's out through week 18. You're going to play the Colts without him. You're going to play the Cowboys without him. You're going to play the Seahawks without him. And the Lions, obviously, on Sunday. How much worse percentage-wise does this offense get without DeAndre Hopkins on the field?
Number 10, you're probably 10% worse. I'll say that. I think that, look, if, as far as any offense in the league that's going to lose their wide receiver 1, you're probably the team that can survive the most in the NFL with that. But look, I'm not going to downplay how important DeAndre Hopkins is to any team that he lines up for. It's a huge loss for them. But they've shown in the last couple of weeks, even when he's been in the lineup, that they can score points, they can move the ball without him being a main factor. Now, has he been a big kind of decoy in Chicago? He probably was, where they were able to put up 33 points on the Bears. But I think that this offense, as long as guys step up, and a guy like Kyler Murray can kind of look like Deshaun Watson did post DeAndre Hopkins in Houston, where he's distributing the ball even more so than he already does. I think that the Arizona Cardinals can be fine offensively. It's not going to sink them, but are you worse team offensively without DeAndre Hopkins than you are with him? Yes.
Yeah. It's right. I mean, it's the only upside to him not putting up wide receiver 1 numbers this year is that you've seen what other people can do. And as you mentioned, we don't know if it's a decoy or not. AJ Green has shown that when he's throwing the ball and he knows the offense, the plays the routes he's running, look at what happened last week. Over 100 yards receiving. Okay. There is a guy there. When people said that Julio Jones was going to revolutionize the passing offense for Tennessee, didn't happen. AJ Green's the one that's been playing every week. AJ Green is the one that, although he didn't turn around, get off it at this point. He had played with Kyler Murray for 6 games. Okay. Get off it. Like, that's not on AJ Green, okay? Well, I guess it is, but it's not something to be harped on. AJ Green has been a good wide receiver 2. And the Cardinals, luckily, have 3 wide receiver 2s on their roster. I mean, him and Christian Kirk for sure. I don't know if you're going to put Zach Ertz in that role where he's going to be that, a tight end 1 type for the rest of the season if they're without DeAndre Hopkins. And then you have James Conner, and then Chase Edmonds is coming back. So you're right. Like, of all the offenses to lose their wide receiver 1, this ain't Green Bay. Okay? And I know that that's a bad example, but this isn't Green Bay. The Cardinals are going to have options. You just hope that he'll be back sooner rather than later, obviously goes without speaking.
I think that Kyler Murray actually thrives not targeting one guy. I think that the way he throws the football and the way that he distributes it, it's more set up to be successful just spreading it around. Now, guys have to step up. You mentioned Zach Ertz. I mean, 42 yards against the Rams, 10 yards the previous week against Chicago after a monster game with 2 touchdowns and 80-plus yards against the Seattle Seahawks. We got to see more consistency from Ertz. You got to see more consistency from Christian Kirk. And for God's sake, as much as he was such a, kind of hype train and hit the ground running and it went off the rails with Rondale Moore. Rondale Moore has to step up in his rookie season. He's like on the side of a milk carton now because he started out with just under 200 yards receiving in his first 2 games. And then after that, he's just got over 200 yards the rest of the way. He's got to be more of a threat in the receiving game. You see the Arizona Cardinals each and every game try to get him involved. You got to see more from the second-round pick out of Purdue. And then I think A.J. Green, I'm not worried about A.J. Green. I think he's going to be fine.
Yeah, absolutely. And then this is, the defense steps up. Kyler Murray does what he does. He thrives. I get it. Absolutely. Chase Edmonds is going to be interesting to see how many touches he and James Conner get out of the backfield, whether it be carries or catching the ball in the backfield, or if nothing changes. If nothing changes, you wouldn't really be surprised. This is going to be protecting Kyler Murray and playing defense. And if you can protect Kyler Murray, you're going to have guys who are going to get open. And you're right, Rondale Moore. He at the starting gates had a large marathon lead. He was the guy that got out to like a 5-mile lead in the marathon. And then he's really been coming back to the pack as Elijah Moore has really catapulted, even though he's injured. And Rashad Bateman has shown flashes in Minnesota. Terence Marshall Jr. out of LSU was supposed to be the guy. I thought he was going to be the guy that the Cardinals should have drafted in the second round instead of Rondale Moore. He was going to be the guy that popped. He's really fallen off a cliff, and obviously injuries, and also because the quarterback play has been so terrible there. But yeah, he's a weapon. Don't look at him as a yak, bro, and throw the ball down the field to him and just have him run routes. Have him run slants. All he has to do is catch the ball and look a linebacker in the face and go around him, and he's gone. Yeah. So, I'm sure Cliff will scheme to that. We're going to have Matt Dery from Locked On Lions come up and join us here in just a minute. Is there anything else? This is kind of a wait and see. You'll have more from us tomorrow hopefully regarding DeAndre Hopkins. James Conner's injury seems to be less severe. Like his looked way worse on the field than DeAndre Hopkins. And DeAndre Hopkins, I thought at least, was a back or a neck thing because his head whipped back so fast on the incomplete pass towards the tail end of the game. Any other news and notes before we get to Matt? We'll give our keys of victory and everything tomorrow, but I think it's just DeAndre Hopkins is the main story today.
Yeah, DeAndre Hopkins, no doubt about it. And he should be. That's no doubt about it. When a player that caliber goes down, James Conner day to day, and then you've got the guys in Edmonds and Pugh who remain. I think that the Arizona Cardinals, this is just something you're used to now. You see how they with Kyler and his injury, they're going to use that as a smokescreen. They're going to use that as this guy's. We're not going to know until game day when those guys are truly coming back. So, keep it locked into your favorite reporter, whether it's Rap Sheet or Schefter or, Field Yates or, I don't know. But that's where you're going to get some insight. And even when you get it then, with the Kyler situation, it's not 100%.
Right. Alex Clancy, Brack, Locked On Cardinals. Let's pivot to Matt Dery. Crossover Thursday. I'm excited to talk to him. He calls me crazy once every time we talk, so let's see if he does it this time. I do have one question that may tip his scale. I'm really, really looking forward to it. Matt Dery from Locked On Lions, one of our favorites, going to join us next for Crossover Thursday. First, Stat Hero. Nobody plays daily fantasy sports to lose. Winning feels so much better, but traditional fantasy sports are a long-term losing proposition because you never know who or what you're up against. Stat Hero is the first-of-a-kind daily fantasy sports platform where it's you versus the house in head-to-head fantasy matchups, winner take all. There's never-before-seen innovation of a fantasy sports and sports betting hybrid. It's Stat Hero players clocking odds that are over 4 times better. Sign up for free right now at stathero.com/lockedon and use promo code LOCKEDON for a 100% deposit match. That's stathero.com/lockedon. Use promo code LOCKEDON for a 100% match. stathero.com/lockedon. Promo code LOCKEDON. Terms and conditions apply. All right, second segment, Crossover Thursday. Alex Clancy, Brack, Locked On Cardinals. Matt Dery, Locked On Lions. Follow him at Dery Speaks on Twitter. Follow me at Clancy's Corner. Follow Bo at Bob Brack. This is a matchup of teams that are on different trajectories, but not so far away that Bo and I have forgotten 2018 with the 3-13 Arizona Cardinals that would get mopped up by this version of the Detroit Lions when healthy, in my opinion. I think the Cardinals were that bad. I'm not a Jared Goff apologist. I'm not a Jared Goff truther, but I'm not a Jared Goff apologist. I think that you take 18 of the 32 starting quarterbacks in the NFL, and you put them behind this offensive line in Detroit with the skill position players who are healthy, and the record would be pretty close to the same. Matt Dery of Locked On Lions, do you agree or disagree?
Well, Alex, I see a lot has changed with you over the years, like zero. You're still out of your mind. And I love talking to you and Bo. Many people have said, going back to years ago, oh, the crossover, those guys from the Cardinals, they're hilarious. Alex, are you out of your mind? The Lions are 1-11-1, brother. Come on now. I know those Cardinal teams were bad. We watched Josh Rosen. We saw the Lions go into the Red Sea, as Ron Wolfley would call it, and win there. So it is possible. But no, this Lions team is a long ways away and not in a good place right now. Then you throw in the COVID stuff, one of 7 teams and heavy protocols, injuries, illnesses, the flu last week where they barely could field a roster against Denver. It's going to be a while before the Lions are good again.
Yeah, I'm on board with you, Matt. I mean, isn't Goff statistically right around with the rookies that are struggling so mightily? As you know, QBR goes, Jared Goff has been atrocious this season. But there have been a few bright spots for this Lions team. Let's talk about those as we try to keep this thing, at least before the game's played on Sunday, pretty close. Where have you seen? I mean, there's been some close calls. You had the Baltimore game. Jason Tucker had to knock it through and get the bounce from the crossbar. How have they been able to stay in these games and maybe turn in some that didn't appear to be close matchups into some nail biters at the end?
Well, to go back to, Bo, to what Alex was asking about Goff, he's not good. I know he's got a great record against the Cardinals, but he's not a good quarterback. And
right.
The Lions are probably stuck with him for another year. It's funny, he was the NFC Offensive Player of the Week 2 weeks ago in their comeback win over Minnesota. And last week I tweeted after his interception and then fumble in Denver, there will be a new NFC Offensive Player of the Week this week. I mean, it was a one and done for poor Jared. And look, he doesn't have a lot to work with when it comes to receiver. Then you throw in the mix TJ Hawkinson out, DeAndre Swift out. Last week, Jamal Williams out. There wasn't much there. They were playing with practice squad players and the like. But, as far as the positives, yeah, they stay in these games because they play hard for Dan Campbell. The kneecap biting and all that stuff aside, they love him. The question is, how do they stay in these games? Okay, well, they run the football. They use the clock. They're ultra conservative a lot of times. On 4th downs, Campbell's constantly going for it. Occasionally they make it. That means that the possession stays longer. And boom, they're tied with the Steelers, or they're in a 3-point game with the Ravens, or they're in a 3-point game with the Browns. Those are all playoff teams. So they're hanging around. Last week, down 7 at the half. They would have been in that game longer in Denver, but Godwin Igwebuike, their 4th-string running back, fumbled. And then that was basically it. I mean, Denver's defense is too good, and the Lions really got trampled. So they're hanging on first. Jack Fox flips the field. He's their best player, their punter, and their punter, and they linger around in a lot of these games.
Matt Dery, Locked On Lions, Alex Clancy, Bo Brack, Locked On Cardinals, crossover Thursday on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Matt Dery, Dan Campbell's introductory press conference to now. Was it an oh no moment when they hired him? And is it like I kind of like this guy from afar selfishly. I find him endearing now. And I think it's easy for me to say that because I'm not covering the team and I'm not close. So I don't know one way or the other. The dude is passionate. It's not false bravado. He loves his position. He's happy to be there. Does that go far enough? Or is this still kind of a, what the hell do they do by hiring this guy situation?
And to be honest, I hate to hedge here, but it's a little of both. I think fan-wise, the diehards love him. He is Detroit. He is tough and blue collar, and he's stayed even keeled mostly. The crying fiasco earlier in the year after the Minnesota loss, after Greg, who's the kid, the Vikings kicker that
Greg Joseph.
Greg Joseph hits the 54-yarder, and it was the second straight week where they lost on you mentioned Justin Tucker 66 yards. The next week Tucker from 54, Joseph from 54. So he cries, and it's like, what is this guy doing? But let's talk about the game, because inside the game, He has stripped Anthony Lynn of the play calling duties. He's calling the plays himself as a head coach. He's never called plays before. And quite honestly, 4th and 1, and he's got Goff on rollouts. Like, what is that? His game management needs work. It does. But he at least openly says, I made some mistakes. I made some bad calls, which his predecessor, Matt Patricia, never did. Matt Patricia was a jerk. Cam's just inexperienced. So there's a mix of a lot of stuff going on. I think he's going to get a few more years. The ownership team loves him. The Ford family and all that love him. He's not going anywhere, but eventually in year 2 or 3, they're going to start winning some games, and they've got to start out-scheming some opposition. Aaron Glenn as D coordinator is a star. Rest of the staff, young, inexperienced. And like I said, Anthony Lynn, he'll be gone next year. He's already been stripped. He has no power anymore.
Cliff Kingsbury 0-1-1 against the Detroit Lions. Jared Goff, you mentioned this amazing record against the Cardinals. Sorry, yeah, all against the Cardinals, and you've got him 7-1. When we look at this contest, the Lions that we just one win on the season, and we're already talking about Hutchinson versus Thibodeau, top pick in the draft. There's more at stake than just the game on Sunday. How do Lions fans root for this one? Are they rooting against their team here? Are they just saying tank for Thibodeau or Aiden Hutchinson already? Or is it, hey, let's just try to get some respect and maybe make sure that Dan Campbell, the beloved, coach, comes back for at least another season?
Well, I mean, they got their one win. Okay, when they were sitting there at 0-10-1 or 0-9-1 or 0-7 or whatever, it was like, wait a minute, could they do this? Could they pull this off again? Because remember, the 0-8 team before they drafted Stafford was 0-16 under Rod Marinelli. So now that they got that one win out of the way, you're right. I'm not a tank for Tibbs guy. We got to lose for Hutchinson. But this week, you're right. The Lions need the Cardinals to win so that not this week and beyond. They own that Rams, so they get a better draft pick. So it is a little bit weird to be a Lions fan right now. I think fans are now relieved. They got that first win 2 weeks ago against Minnesota. But now the question is, can they realistically beat Arizona, Seattle, Green Bay, and Atlanta the rest of the way? And the way this roster is constructed, the amount of injuries they've had, the secondary is just depleted right now due to COVID and other factors. Jerry Jacobs, their second best corner, now done for the year with an ACL injury. I just don't know if they eat with these teams. They shouldn't be beating Arizona this week. The Cardinals are a superior team.
Yeah, Matt Dery at Dery Speaks on Twitter. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. Coming up next, Matt is going to take over the reins, ask us questions. Maybe he'll call me insane once again. I think that game would be a lot closer than you think. Fully healthy, DeAndre Swift, that dude is going to be a star if he can stay healthy, right? I know we're going to move on here in just a second. He's the brightest spot on the roster? I think it goes without saying. Is there somebody on the defense you like that's budding?
No, I don't. I think that you're right. He is the brightest spot on this team. Guys coming that have been decent, but you're right. DeAndre Swift putting up multiple 100-yard games this year, and again he's injured right now, and I don't think he'll be ready to play Sunday. There's a chance that he can, but he's been good. He's been good, no question about it.
All right, coming up next, Matt's going to take over, ask us any and all that he wants to know about the Arizona Cardinals ahead of the Sunday's matchup in the early slate where the Cardinals travel to Detroit to play the Lions. One thing that's almost as insane as me is Bo's love for Stance socks. Like, before they became a sponsor, I didn't know how insane Bo was. Bo, the floor is yours, my friend.
I mean, every single member of my family is getting Stance socks. These things are legit. I've been on board. I'm a Stance hipster. You guys are late to the party. They were founded back in 2009. Stance apparel represents a radical reinvention of socks, underwear, and active apparel with a sharp focus on comfort, quality, and creativity. Do you want Michael Scott on your socks? How about Old Dirty Bastard? Or some of your favorite sports stars like Chris Paul or Devin Booker? Maybe the Worm, Dennis Rodman. You can have those. You could be at your holiday party and people say, my God, is that Larry Bird on your socks? Yeah, he is. And they're absurdly comfortable. Yeah, Stance believes that the perfect fit matters more than just fitting in. That goes, feel good, do good. Go see yourself. Register account at stance.com. Get 15% off your first purchase. Use the promo code LOCKEDON. That's one word to the checkout and apply that 15% off. Enjoy the color and comfort of a life less ordinary with Stance.
Yep, betonline.ag. You know about them. You love them. So do we. They're the best place to put any sort of wager down, football, basketball, what have you. Ahead of Sunday's matchup with the Arizona Cardinals traveling to Detroit, the Cardinals are a humble 13.5-point favorite on the road. BetOnline.ag has got you covered with everything you need to bet on all your sports action. It remains your number one spot for all the sports action this season. Go to the website or use your mobile device today to receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit with promo code Locked On. Again, go to the website or use your mobile device today to receive a 50% welcome bonus with promo code Locked On. From basketball, football, NHL, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts.
All right, here we go with crossover Thursday. Bo Brock, Locked On Cardinals, and his partner, of course, the lovable and sane Alex Clancy. Matt Dery on Locked On Lions. All right, fellas, this is rare. The Lions play the Cardinals every year. I don't know why, but they do. And it's always in Arizona. But for one time, Dave Pasch, Ron Wolfe, the whole crew, the coaching staff, the Bidwell family get to make their December appearance in the Motor City. This is very exciting stuff. But how are the Cardinals going to bounce back from Monday night? Because we all watched that game to see our old buddy Matthew Stafford light you guys up.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't ideal. My main goal that we talk about when we break things down, heavy analysis, Matt. I don't know if you know, you have to score more points than the other team to win, and the Cardinals did not do that on Monday night, which was not ideal. I mean, it's going to be a treacherous road for the Cardinals moving forward. Sunday, DeAndre Hopkins injured. We don't know the state of James Conner at this point. So sure, they're going to be the better team going onto the field on Sunday. But this Cardinals team is going to be a new look Cardinals team seemingly every week. And they're going to have the game plan around players that are injured and not playing, or, the opponent that they play, whether it be on Sunday or a short week on Christmas against the Colts. So we're going to find out a lot about the bounce backness that the Cardinals have on Sunday in the morning slate traveling cross country to Detroit. So, I mean, it's still 53 professional athletes that get paid millions of dollars on the other sideline. You can never overlook an opponent regardless of how hobbled or injured. The more you know, as the star flies after the Friends episode.
But Bo, if I told you 10-3 at this point in the season and one of the best records, tied for the best record in the NFC, you would have taken it, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't think anybody would have turn their nose up at that. And that you have to keep things in perspective. I mean, the Arizona Cardinals have lost to two top 5 teams in the NFL by a combined 10 points. You lost to the Packers on Thursday Night Football, and we're in the driver's seat to actually tie or win that game. But there was a communication error between AJ Green and Kyler Murray. And it costed in a game-sealing pick for the Packers. And then the Arizona Cardinals had an opportunity after getting the onside kick on Monday Night Football against the Rams to march down, and it was far-fetched to score a touchdown without DeAndre Hopkins in the lineup. But they've been in a good position, put themselves in a good position every single game outside of the Carolina Panthers game. And I think any Cardinals fan would take that 10-3. I feel like they're already on, house money, but they're in a position to really make some noise in the 2021 season. Just going to have to refocus themselves after that loss on Monday night, because I think it really did kind of rattle the cage a little bit. Now they're going to have to figure out what life looks like, at least for the regular season, without DeAndre Hopkins. And we'll see what that first looks like. And an opportunity, probably the best bounce back game, maybe outside of the Houston Texans in the league right now, in the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, I would think so. You look at this matchup. I mean, I'm terrified from the Lions standpoint. I think Zach Ertz is going to have a big day. They utilizing him properly, because when the Lions go up against a tight end that can just is smart, gets open. Detroit linebackers, it's kind of a mash unit right now. How's the Kyler to Ertz combination working out? Start with you, Alex.
It was worth a great late pick. It was damn well worth that. Tell you what, I mean, even though he's on a short-term deal and there's going to be a lot of questions, towards the end of the year, like, even though the Cardinals offense is whoever's open, Kyler's going to throw the ball to, it seems like, Zach Ertz has fit almost immediately. He had a long touchdown catch and run within his first couple games. What you can do with a tight end that most tight ends can do in the NFL is run 10 yards and turn around. Zach Ertz is big, and he can do that, whether it be between the 20s or in the red zone. I think he was horrifically misused in Philadelphia when he was there. Aside from that 1 year and a half where he was great, they didn't use him outside of just between the 20s. Like, he's one of the best red zone threats in the NFL still at 6'5". So I think with Kyler Murray needing to lean on people, with DeAndre Hopkins now injured, Zach Ertz could definitely have more of a prominent role, and his baseline has been fantastic. The floor has been higher than we could have even imagined, which is great.
Bo, give me a minute on Ertz, but also James Conner. I mean, this guy's almost a star already, and the Cardinals always seem to be looking for that running back. What's going on there?
Yeah, I mean, I think Ertz it's not coming along as well as you'd like to see, because early on Monday Night Football, you thought that was going to be a guy that was going to make some major damage in the middle of the field, and then he just disappeared the rest of the contest, and we've seen that way too often. We'll see where Kyler Murray has to rely on all of his playmakers instead of just a few of them with DeAndre Hopkins out of the lineup, if he'll start to really get their new tight end in the mix, because I agree with Alex. I think he can be just an absolute threat and force going forward. So like to see that. But then there is the emergence of James Conner, who is making a lot of these guys take a back seat to watch him become somehow this dual threat running back that we never really truly knew about. Maybe some people in Pittsburgh knew about it way back when, but he has just been fantastic. A touchdown in 7 straight games. He's healthy. The last couple seasons, he only played in 10 and 13 games respectively, and he just looks spry. He looks big out there. Of course, he's standing next to Kyler Murray. That's not a slight at all, but, he just looks athletic. He looks big. He looks powerful. He bounced off Aaron Donald into the end zone on Monday Night Football. He's money in the bank on the goal line. He's just been more than anybody even imagined when they signed him to a 1-year deal. We're already talking extension with James Conner, and he's at that odd age of 26 for running backs where they kind of fall off a cliff. So he's really forcing the issue there. And he is, when you look at it with Hopkins out, Kyler's obviously their number 1 threat on offense, but James Conner's number 2 with this Arizona Cardinals offense.
Well, you guys have a threat that we know about, Locked On Crossovers Day, Lions and Cardinals chatter. Matt Prater coming home to Detroit. Bo and I talked earlier in the year about when the Zane train made its way to Detroit and Zane Gonzalez. The Lions have tried 7 different kickers. Come on.
It's a runaway train.
Well, it was short-lived. The Lions, I think, finally have their guy in Riley Patterson. It took seven swipes, swiping right or swiping left, whatever they say. But you guys have Matt Prater. How's he worked out? Because I know Monday night, Brian Greasy was begging for the Cardinals to kick that 80-yard field goal to cut it to 7 at the end of the game.
All right. It was a 56-yarder. You're down 10 points with 3 minutes left. You kick the damn field goal. Okay. You kick it. I wouldn't marry the idea like Brian Greasy. I'd be open to having a conversation about it. Matt Prater signing and Matt Prater making the 60-plus yarder going into half earlier in the season birthed the name Praterade. And I'm happy enough that just from that, I'm happy that they signed him, so we're able to use that on Sundays. All joking aside, he's been perfect. He's exactly what you want from an upgrade from what the Cardinals have dealt with over the last couple seasons. From Chandler Catanzaro, the missed field goal in Week 1 against the Packers on Monday night, or against the Patriots on Monday Night Football, to the end of Zane Gonzalez, it was always like, do you kick it here? Do you trust your kicker? Matt Prater is 100 years old. He's going to be able to kick for 5 more years probably. And the dude has been, again, the floor has been much higher than what the Cardinals have been accustomed to, regardless of age. And you can just trust him. You can trust him.
Bo, are the Cardinals covering this number?
13.5. I mean, we'll see if it stays there with DeAndre Hopkins out. That's such a large number in the NFL, but I think they do. They've been really good against teams like Detroit. They take care of business. They put up, pretty odd number scores. I think that they do. 13.5. If it stays there, if I'm pressed on it, I'm taking the Cardinals in this matchup. I think that their offense, this is going to be a get-right game for them. Kyler Murray's going to spread the wealth. It's going to look maybe a lot better than it did on Monday night. And then the defense is going to look to bounce back. And then, I don't know who they're going to struggle covering up, hat on a hat with Detroit this week. I think it bodes well for the Cardinals covering.
Yeah, I agree, guys, especially if Hawkinson and Swift. And again, we won't know till Friday, but if those two are both out, it could be a long day, certainly for the Lions. Give the Lions credit. Their offensive line, Sewell and Decker, those guys up front have done well. But Goff just doesn't make enough plays. So
who's it? Amanon St. Brown? What's his name?
Amon-Ra.
Amon-Ra.
Do you know watch USC football? What the hell are we doing here?
Oh, God. Pac-12 memories. We'll have to do that another time, guys. Always a pleasure, though, chatting with the two of you. It was a lot of fun.
Likewise.
Absolutely, man.